how does generosity, giving, and appreciation help us with manifesting? That's exactly what we're talking about today on Mindful Manifesting, and you're listening to Ariana Rollins. But before we dive in, if you would like a little quick start or kickstart to your manifesting journey, you can grab that at mindfulachiever.com. It's a little worksheet and audio, which I still use today. Really helpful to clarify your intentions and dive deeper into what you truly want so you can focus your energies and manifest it faster and easier. Okay, this week I was thinking about when someone has let's say a generous heart, an open heart, an appreciative heart, where they are someone who, if someone gives them a little gift or does a kind gesture, they're very appreciative, very grateful, like, thank you so much. You know, in this text emoji world, they might be the kind of person who sends a bunch of emojis when you send a text, like checking in on them if they've been sick. Like, gosh, thank you so much for checking in on me. That was so kind. And you feel the warmth. You feel their heart opening. You feel it almost just like this warm hug with their words and gratitude. And then I was thinking about some people who you might give something to them, maybe, I don't know, you share some extra food, you'd made a little bit more for your dinner, and you thought, gosh, it would be really nice to share that with them. Maybe they would like that. And so you give it to them. Or you give them some extra plant cuttings from your garden because your herbs are growing overly abundant. Or that you found something in the store and you thought, oh, gosh, I think their dog would really like that. And you pick it up for them. And as you give it to them, they're like, oh, thanks. And energetically, it's like, oh, it's like the gift that they can give back, in a sense, is their appreciation, their warmth, their gratitude. And that, I think, is what can hook some of us on, in a good way, of being givers. That it feels so good to give. But what happens when someone you're giving to doesn't have that overwhelming, generous spirit of, thank you so much, I'm so grateful for this. Oh, this is so wonderful. I really appreciate you thinking about me. And it's more like, oh, thanks. And then they're on to the next thing or whatever they're doing. Well, my theory, and this is my personal pet theory, is that gratitude is a prime manifesting force. I'll go back to one of my favorite childhood movies, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. If you've not seen it, it's a classic, and I think it's a classic as it relates to manifesting. And you might say, what? I thought other movies like The Secret was. Don't get me going on that one. No. This one is so classic, and it might be subtle for most. So I'm not going to remember all of the character names. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But as you know the storyline, if you don't, I will remind you that Willy Wonka was getting older, and he wanted to find someone because he didn't have a family to to pass along his wonderful, thriving chocolate factory. So he came up with a clever idea to put a golden ticket inside his chocolate bars. And anyone who got a golden ticket would be able to come for a very exclusive tour of his chocolate factory, because it had not been open to touring for a very long time because there were spies trying to steal his chocolate secrets, candy secrets. But this was a very special occasion. Now, there were people who had a lot of money, they were very wealthy, and they bought boxes of the chocolate bars so they could get for their daughter one of the golden tickets. And then there was this family, Charlie. Their whole family lived in basically one bed. They were very poor. There was the grandparents, the parents, and Charlie. And that the grandparent, so kind and lovingly, gave Charlie a coin to get a chocolate bar. And this is where manifesting starts to come in. The pureness of Charlie's heart, I think, created the golden ticket, and he got one. So fast forward, it's the tour day, and there's kind of little tests. And this is an interesting concept as we speak about manifesting. There were little tests that Willy Wonka put the children through. It wasn't obvious. It wasn't obvious at all. But there were temptations along the way. Now, I do not mean to sound religious by any means at all, because it kind of did sound like that, temptations. And he wanted to see how would the child respond, with this wonderful opportunity in front of them to get more, little, what are those things, those balls, jawbreakers, where you'd suck on it for a long time and it would last. And there was a certain very unique and special recipe that Willy Wonka had that it was a gobstomper, and it would never go away. It would continually taste yummy. It wouldn't disappear in your mouth and dissolve like most candies would. So he would find out, would the person take more than one? Were they going to steal it for the spies that were all around trying to get his special candy recipes? But there was one particular scene that really stood out to me, especially as it relates to gratitude. What would you say is the opposite of gratitude and appreciation? Just curious. I wish we were having a conversation right now, because I really would like to know. If you ever want to send me a message on Instagram, that would be great. And you can tell me you're listening to episode 171. It's on gratitude. Tell me what you think the opposite of gratitude is and appreciation. Well, I'm going to tell you, right? Because we're not having a conversation. I think it's entitlement. And it's a person feels that they are entitled to having special treatment. Now, sadly, we can see this sometimes in people who've had a raw deal in life, or they feel they've had a raw deal and they've not been appreciated or valued, and they then expect special treatment and demand it. They're not very nice people to be around, are they? Those demanding people. So, and there's one particular one, and it was Veronica, I think her name was. And I did remember her name. And she was the child who her father had a lot of money, worked in a factory, and bought bunches of boxes of these chocolate bars, and had his staff take time off from doing their job and opening the boxes to find the golden ticket, because he was determined. Let me back that up. She was determined. She felt entitled to get that golden ticket. And the child's father was so obsessed with it and wanting to not disappoint the little spoiled child that he had. And so he did that. So she got a golden ticket, didn't she? So we fast forward on the tour. Willy Wonka's showing people around. And there was this chocolate river. It was a river with flowing chocolate. I remember how much this movie, the impact it had on me. It was like, I think every child loves candy, right? Well, I think she leaned over and fell into the river. Well, what happened is these different quote-unquote tests would eject the child out. Nope. You didn't pass it. You don't have that, what I would say, that pure spirit, that pure heart. You were greedy, trying to go after the chocolate, or greedy going after more of those gobsponkers, stompers. Sorry, I don't get the name right. And then these children were self-electing themselves to be ejected from consideration to inherit the Willy Wonka chocolate factory. So as we go on, this young woman, Veronica, entitled. Who knows what made her entitled. Maybe it was the extra special treatment from her father. Maybe she popped out that way. I don't know. But we will notice certain people in our life, I'm sure you've seen this, where when they're given something, there's like an expectation, of course. You don't see that over effusive, oh, thank you so much, I'm so grateful, this was so kind. And just that loving appreciation back to being given something. It's like, yeah, what's next? Yep, what's next? Well, how does this relate to manifesting? Hopefully you enjoyed that rendition of Willy Wonka. I probably didn't get it 100% right. I never do when I tell stories. Well, I think the universe is like that. I think the universe bestows blessings on those who have that purity and not entitled expectancy, that they're so grateful for the little generous gifts from other people or from a little spontaneous moment of beautiful weather, or that something wonderful happens and they manifested something and they're deeply grateful, and then they consciously express appreciation. Maybe they share the story of, you're not going to believe what happened to me today. This was so good. They share it with a friend, they share it with a family member, and their heart, their cup runneth over of just blessings that grace their life. Well, I believe the universe, or if you'd like to say quantum field, vortex, God, I believe those things we can't see, but those things that support our very next breath, those things that support us to have the ability to fall asleep at night and wake up with a fresh start, a brand new day. I believe those things, those unseen supports, observe and watch, like Willy Wonka, watching the children. Who do I want to pass my chocolate factory on to? Who will deliver and be able to carry on the promise of my passion? Who is dedicated and devoted to growing themselves, evolving themselves, being a generous, loving, kind, open-hearted person, like Charlie was? He wanted to pass that huge, huge gift on to someone who would not only appreciate it, but carry on his legacy. Don't you think that those things that support our life want that too? To carry on their legacy? Because I'm pretty certain, I can't guarantee it obviously, but I'm pretty certain that cruelty, violence, meanness, an embittered spirit, selfishness, I don't think that's the way of the world. I don't think that's what will trigger and elevate our manifesting ability, to have that demand. And that's another big thing. If someone goes into manifesting that they demand it, I need to have that money to provide for myself. You can even hear it in the tone of my voice, versus, oh, I feel so grateful to be able to serve my clients. I'm so grateful to be able to bring this to the world. And look, I've got another client. There's no demand. There's no expectancy. There's gratitude and appreciation for the little things, gratitude and appreciation for the big things. And that, if you're like me, I've noticed this in myself. I love to give to people who appreciate. And I find myself not holding back, but not having as much awareness of that person's needs and jumping in to give and support and serve. It's like a part of me is like, nope, I wanted to go somewhere else. One of the things that I really love about my son is he is so grateful when someone helps him. And there was just this random thing that happened. He was in Europe and over the beginning of this year, and he had an allergic reaction to, I think, hazelnuts, something he still is very strongly allergic to. A lot of the other ones he resolved, but he ended up in an emergency room in Germany, and they sent him a very long, lengthy, very expensive bill for the ambulance and for the hospital. Well, he couldn't read German. He couldn't figure out how to make payment. And so I said, let me look at it. I know a little German, and I've got a friend. I'll figure it out. So I figured it out with my help of my friend, and we got it paid. I can't tell you how many times he sent me texts. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mom. Thank you. Thank you. And it was genuine. And I remember my heart opening every time he sent that a message of love and appreciation. He doesn't take anything for granted. And I think as humans we take a lot for granted. The next breath, that we're going to wake up in the morning, we have well-being, that our legs work. We take so much for granted. And my son, for some reason, he has the most incredible luck, the most incredible good fortune. Just as one little example, I could go on and on. I could probably do a 2-hour podcast on his good fortune. He recently decided to go to finish his, not finish, but to do an MBA. And he was looking for a place to live. Well, he found there was someone who was wanting to release, not sublet, but they were completing their lease with his townhouse. I don't know how my son finds these opportunities, but this guy said, yeah, if you want it, this is the rent, and the rent was very reasonable. And he said, I'm going to give you $8,000 too, because you're helping me out of getting out of the lease. I think that was the arrangement. Who gets $8,000 up front to rent a townhouse? My son. That's just one. You know what he did? He gave half of it to his roommate. Did he have to do that? No. Because he had found the deal, but he gave half of it to his roommate. That's the generosity, and that's the incredible open-hearted spirit that he has. Just that. So how does it work for you for manifesting? Do you say thank you for even the little things? Do you express that deep-hearted gratitude when you manifest something, when something happens? Or are you on to next client, next big win, next accomplishment? Just wonder, because I know that if you've gone through a tough time, and I have, so I know I went through a period where things weren't flowing. And there are a lot of reasons why. I had a negative mindset, and I had dropped into scarcity, and I was like holding on to things. And that, I think, is a repelling force. Having that mindset in scarcity, it's the exact opposite of those things wanting to serve and support. They're repelled, like that Veronica character who missed out on inheriting Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So this was kind of a tough love episode, really. A tough love, because it's easy to get into demand. It's easy to get into the feeling of I'm entitled. And just we need to really kick that to the curb, that attitude, because it doesn't serve us. It doesn't help us when we want to accomplish our goals, our intentions, when we want to manifest. Having that attitude of gratitude is a prime manifesting force. No question, no doubt. Maybe one day I will share more and more stories of the grace of my son's life. I don't know where he came from. I was the airport he arrived through. But he is quite a little miracle in terms of how grateful he is and how he serves and how he helps and the good fortune that just seems to follow him. It's really beautiful to witness. So as we start to wrap up, just ask yourself, do you take a moment to celebrate? Saying a gratitude like, thank you for this success. Thank you so much. I'm deeply grateful. And maybe place it in your heart. Allow those things that support you their moment to shine, because they're always serving us. And rarely do we give them a moment's notice. a moment of appreciation and gratitude. I think if we did, we'd be living on a different planet now. Imagine if everybody did. Everybody expressed appreciation and gratitude for the little things, for the big things. We wouldn't live in an entitled, embittered, self-serving planet, would we? I think it'd be quite wonderful, actually. All right, so as we wrap up, if you'd like to kickstart your manifesting journey, new version to come. I'm finalizing it. It's going to even have the ladder steps from the last episode. How to break down your biggest goals and objectives into smaller ones so you can take that first step on the ladder. It's quite good. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, I recommend it. It was a good one. So as we wrap up, when you confirm yourself, you chart your own path to success. All right. So much love, many blessings. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate you. Be well.